What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I'm here today to do a new installment of my Celluloid Grave Robbery Blu-ray Cult Classics review series. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. Over the last several weeks of this segment, I've been doing movies from the 80s, but we're going to go back a decade and we're going to go into the 70s for this one. 1976 to be specific, to talk about a movie that I recently became made aware of, and from hearing about it, watching it, and then of course getting myself a Blu-ray copy of it, I am very much obsessed with this film. I of course am referring to Grizzly. Yeah, this was originally released in 1976, and this is the 2021 Blu-ray edition put out through Severin Films. Of course, if you know Severin Films, they are a very well-known and well-regarded studio responsible for pumping out really great classic horror, exploitation, sleaze sort of movies, and they put out some very high-quality releases. And I know this was recently a part of a new bundle of releases dedicated to wild animal, crazy horror, exploitation sorts of films. But let's get on to what this movie is about by letting me read off the back of the case for you guys. 18 feet of gut-crunching, man-eating terror. Less than a year after the release of Steven Spielberg's shark blockbuster, director William Girdler and infamous distributor Film Ventures International brazenly unleashed their own Jaws with Claws sensation that would become one of the most successful independent horror films in history. Christopher George, Andrew Prine, and Richard Jekyll star in this bloody, sexy, and immortal trash classic about an 18-foot-tall Ursus Arctos horribilis on the carnivorous rampage through a state park full of campers and the ranger, chopper pilot, and naturalist who must stop it. Grizzly now roars with a 2K scan from the inner negative, plus special features produced exclusively for this edition. Yeah. The most interesting thing that I love about Grizzly is the fact that when this movie came out, this movie was rated PG. Now, mind you, back in the day, PG-13 and R ratings did not exist back then. But then, in the case of some horror movies, some movies did what they could to really push the boundaries and go way over the top. And with a movie like Grizzly, I feel like they did what they could to push the limits of their rating as far as they could. Because you have this really big, tall, gigantic Kodiak bear. If I'm not mistaken, some of the bears that were used in this movie were Kodiak bears as opposed to grizzlies, because they wanted to make sure they had the right sort of information down about what kind of bear traits and qualities there were for bears like these. And it really showed in how they filmed everything. They had the real bear footage, and they had the footage of someone holding the big furry mitt paw swiping at something. And this bear does swipe a lot. I mean, this bear swipes so hard, he cuts off limbs, cuts off legs, cuts off heads, bear hugs people to death, breaks backs, lifts people high up in the air. I mean, just the way this movie is filmed is just really crazy and over the top. I mean, it does have somewhat of a tonal, serious sort of edge to it, but I don't think it takes itself too seriously. I mean, this movie has a very simple, cheery, happy, family-friendly music score that you hear at the beginning of this movie, and then you do hear some music sound cues that have a little bit of suspense and a little bit of tension. I mean, of course, the acting in this movie is pretty fun and over the top. Some good performances. Of course, you know Christopher George from the likes of movies such as Pieces and City of the Living Dead. I think he was in that movie too, but he does great work here. I love the argument that he gets into with the owner of the national park or theme park or wherever the hell they're filming at. They have this really intense argument scene, which I think is pretty funny. But I think that the mixture of the acting and the suspense of the bear, and then you get to see the bear do his thing and go crazy, it is just so fun and over the top. I mean, when Jaws came out, it really did spawn a wave of all these crazy shark exploitation movies or shark exploitation movies. Of course, when you think of shark exploitation movies, you think of stuff like Cruel Jaws or Joe D'Amato's Deep Blood, or even crazier shit like Killer Crocodile, which is another fantastic Italian sort of exploitation horror movie, which I think is awesome. But in the case of Grizzly, I think this is a great movie. I think this is definitely one of the best wild animal exploitation knockoff films. It's got a great score. It's got a great cast. It's got some really cool, scary parts. I really love what they did with the bear in terms of the real life footage, and of course the footage of the bear swiping everything and chopping everything off. You'll have to see this movie for yourself in order to understand what I'm talking about here. But this is a fun movie, and I'm really happy that Severin Films put out this Blu-ray edition. Of course, it did come. Of course, it's in the black Blu-ray case, as has been the case with usual Severin Films releases. There you see this badass poster art. Credits and information. You have all these cool extra features. You have the vintage making of stuff. You got interviews. You got commentaries. The theatrical trailer. There you see the Blu-ray itself. Very nicely done. Reversible cover with the poster art, which I think is a really, really nice touch. Really, really well done here. And it also comes with a slipcase. There's an option to get a slipcase version of this. Very, very top quality stuff as far as this Blu-ray presentation is concerned. And of course, this movie did come out in 1976, so you're going to see a lot of film grain and a lot of aging from this print, but I think they did a really fine job cleaning it up, making it look nice and presentable. And yeah, if you've ever seen Grizzly, I highly would recommend seeking this movie out if you're into fun horror thrillers with a little bit of that cheesy exploitation sort of vibe going for it. But yeah, Grizzly is awesome, and I cannot recommend this one enough. So if you've seen this movie, let me know what you think about it and how you feel about it, and we can go from there. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. Until next time, Armijo out.